Yo, 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 what is going on, everybody? It is Tuesday night, 9 o'clock. You know what time it is? It's time for Flyers Talk A to D. Tonight, we're talking about the John Tortorella suspension. Was it justified? Did he really deserve it? Did they really need to kick him out of the game? We're going to twist it a little bit, make it a little bit more relevant. How's the team going to react? We have a live game going on right now. It is 2-2 in intermission. We're going to discuss that in the second half. We're going to discuss a little post game. And in our final thoughts tonight, we're going to discuss maybe a little NHL expansion, maybe a little something came out today. Tune in. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn on those notifications, hit that share button, drop your comments in the chat. Let's go talk some puck.
Yo, it's Flyers Talk A to D, and we're powered by the doc. That is Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, with 2 locations in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Check out our doc. Make them yours. SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Matt Sassuti is actually at tonight's Flyers Sharks game, so maybe he'll be in the chats giving us some, his firsthand take of the game tonight. But we do have Brian Daly and Brad Ryers always on the top line, centered by yours truly, Rob Povia. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe for notifications to all your favorite shows on A2D. Now, tonight, we'll wrap up this Flyers Sharks game that's now in the second intermission, tied 2-2, and we'll provide our post-game coverage. But first, it's a hot topic here in Philadelphia, as well as throughout the NHL, and that's Flyers head coach John Tortorella. He's been suspended for 2 games, beginning tonight for San Jose, and fined $50,000 for his actions in Tampa Bay. So was this old Torts showing his ugly head again, or is this an example of refs getting butthurt? And how will the team respond tonight? That's the real question so far. It's been a deadlock contest, but we want your comments on tonight's face-off poll, and that is the NHL was right to suspend John Tortorella for his actions against Tampa Bay. You can vote agree or disagree throughout the show. Like I said, we want to know what you have to think. But for starters, we're going to start with Mr. Brian Daly. What do you think about this?
Me? I disagree with the poll. I think the NHL went a little overboard with this. I don't like it. I think Wes McCauley got a little butt hurt because they made a bad call and John Tortorella let him hear it. The tripping call on Ronnie Attard was probably a little bit of a ticky-tack call. Could have gotten away with not calling it. And then to make matters worse, you go to make the call, you blow the call at center ice. So, yeah, you're going to get an earful from a guy like John Tortorella. What I like is that, one, he stood up for his player. And you're going to continue to see that. That's the type of coach that he is. But what I really liked about it was seeing Dan Hilferty take the back of his coach and say, I'm going to pay the fine for whatever happens here. So that to me says a lot about where this organization is right now. But as far as suspending him, maybe you can suspend him for a game for not leaving the bench and pretty much telling Wes McCauley to F off multiple times. But I don't think it's suspension worthy. I think it was very much what's the word? I think it was blown way out of proportion. Maybe you find maybe the suspension is too much, but I disagree with Paul. I don't think the NHL was right to do it. I know he has a little bit of a history, but I mean, we know the type of coach that John Tortorella is. He's a passionate guy. He's going to let you know what he's thinking in that moment. And again, I thought Wes McCauley throwing him out for that was a little bit of a flex on his part. But like I said, I disagree.
Right on, Brian. Now, Brad, you're familiar with the old Torts that I speak of. You saw firsthand knowledge how he could erupt during a game. What's your take on this going on?
Okay. First, I want to say that Tortorella is Tortorella. Okay, he's not going to change. He's been the same way his entire career coaching. Okay, he's a fiery guy, and he's going to speak his mind. As far as Wes McCauley is concerned, Wes McCauley pulled if I can use a umpire from another sport, he is the Angel Hernandez of hockey. He's always got to call every single solitary nitpicking penalty and make every game that he referees a game about him. And you know what, John Tortorella, these are big games for the Flyers. Okay, they're hanging on to the playoffs by a thread. The last thing John Tortorella and his team need right now are ticky-tack penalties that are going to affect the game. You know what? John Tortorella got thrown out when it was 4-0. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, he had every right to yell whatever the hell he wanted. And you know what? So you know what? If McCauley wants to give him a game misconduct for being a jackass, okay, fine. But you know what? To get suspended for it? Come on.
Yeah.
You know what? I've seen guys do a lot worse than that and not get suspended. It's obvious that these guys have a little bit of a burr in their saddle, if you will, with Tortorella. Okay, and I know what Tortorella's like. Okay, he drives his players crazy. I mean, Marian Gaborik was ready to jump out a window by the time he left New York with Tortorella when he was the coach. Henrik Lundqvist was ready to go nuts because he's not an easy guy to play for. But you know what? One thing about Tortorella is he backs his players, and if he likes you, he will go to the ends of the earth to defend you. And you know what? I would hope for the Flyers' sake that they pick him up and show him the proper respect and beat the Sharks. You cannot lose to the Sharks. I'm sorry. You just can't do that after Tortorella gets suspended. Okay? He gives his heart and soul to this organization and to these players. These players need to stand up and go out and win the third period and win the game. Okay? If they have to win an overtime or shootout, I don't care, but you got to win this game. And you know what? I am so tired of the NHL being so ridiculous as they are. Everything is a big deal with them, except if it's the guys they like, it's okay. I mean, Sidney Crosby can practically cut Mark Methode's finger off by slashing him. Okay, he doesn't get suspended. John Tortorella says a couple of F-bombs to a butthead ref, and he gets suspended for 2 games. Come on, game misconduct. That's it.
Right.
Right. I mean, yeah, he deserves to get thrown out. You dropped too many. You dropped too many F-bombs. Yeah, and you know what? Tortorella was trying to fire up the team, so that's cool. That's what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. NBA coaches do it all the time. Why is it okay for them to do it?
It's truth. It's very true. And one thing that's continuing tonight that we're seeing in tonight's Flyers Sharks game is the frivolous penalties being called. And Torts isn't there to argue him tonight, albeit he's probably up in the box chomping at the bit. But you're right. You're right, Brad. I mean, I think we're all on the same board here. I disagree with tonight's face-off poll as well. I vehemently disagree with that. I mean, the one point I want to jut in, boys, because you pretty much covered it all, is that I feel the NHL is making an example out of Torts, that it's not okay for a head coach to refuse to leave the bench if ever ejected, but also to protect refs from being verbally abused. And to your point, this league is so freaking soft anymore. I mean, for heaven's sakes, players have received lesser suspended games and fines for illegal hits and high stickings than Torts has received here. See, Evgeny Malkin a few years back against Raffle got less of a suspension and less of a fine than this. But I think the NHL is really just trying to send a message here that it's not okay to refuse to leave the bench, and also, take it easy on these refs, especially in this case where I really feel is an example of a young referee getting butt hurt there, right, by the name of Brandon Schrader, and Wes McCauley playing hero as the vet coming in and tossing Torts out of the game. I don't want to breeze past that point too, because I think that was another reason why Torts stayed on that bench. He goes, no, I want you to come over here and talk to me while you're sending me out, or why you didn't call that penalty on Attard. He wanted answers. That's all he wanted was freaking answers.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point, Robbie. And you know what? You're right. That's going to get overlooked a lot because he's a younger referee. Everyone's going to see Wes McCauley, and they know the rep that he has. So they're going to go directly to him. I'm guilty. I just did it.
Yeah, I just want to know one thing, guys. Why is it every time he's reffing a game, the fans chant "Ref, you suck"? It's the Kerry Fraser syndrome all over again. If you guys remember Kerry Fraser, every game Kerry Fraser refed, at least against the Rangers, they used to chant "Fraser sucks" every game because he was missing calls and was bad. And this guy has the same problem, except they don't yell names anymore. They just yell "Ref, you suck." That's the new thing. And you know what? It's enough already. Bettman's got to be a little bit more responsible with choosing these refs. It's enough already. These refs are terrible.
That's actually funny you bring him up. I actually just met him 2 weeks ago.
No.
And I'm certainly not excited about these referees, Brad.
I hate Gary Bettman. I think he's a disgrace to hockey. He should have been fired years ago.
Flyers take the lead 3-2 here, 5 minutes into the third period.
There you go.
Answering back to all those adversity, we see Cam Atkinson healthy scratch for the first time. Did it take Tortorella being removed from the bench to pull Cam too, his boy?
I'll tell you what, and I know we're going to discuss this a little bit later on too, but what a game by Morgan Frost so far.
Yeah.
In the play, tons of scoring chances, has assists on the first goal, power play goal tonight. What a game by Frosty. Man, what a game by him. And we'll get into that a little bit more when we get to the post game.
And he's responding to, criticism from the coach, challenging him out, questioning the consistencies in his game all around that we heard in the last practice interview with John Tortorella. We want to get into some of the fams comments here. We're going to be reading your comments all throughout tonight's podcast, so be sure to chime in. Make sure you vote for that poll. And in case you're just joining us, the poll is the NHL was right to suspend John Tortorella for his actions against Tampa Bay. We got Audrey McHugh going free Torts. Absolutely. Hashtag it. Let's get that trending. No doubt about it. Anthony Saunders chiming in. What else did we expect? Passion is what Philly is made of. And Torts really embodying that and channeling in another guy that we could share sort of a familiarity with, Brad, and that's one Mike Keaton.
Oh, yeah. Look, I love Tortorella as the coach of the Rangers. You guys know I've never had a bad thing to say about Tortorella. I think he's great. Okay, he keeps it where it is. Okay, and if somebody says something stupid after the game in the press conferences, he shuts them right up. If a player's acting like an idiot, he stops it right there. And you know what? He stands up for his players. He's got everybody's back. That's what I love about him. And you don't hear about all that stuff. Okay? And by the way, off the ice, he also is really good to kids with disabilities and has befriended a whole society of young kids. So you know what? That guy, in my book, is all that and a bag of chips. And he's a real credit to hockey. And to suspend him because he dropped a couple of F-bombs and he said no to the referee, big deal. He was mad. Okay.
Charmin.
Did he jump off listen, if he jumped onto the ice and started yelling, okay, then he should get suspended. But you know what? He left the bench. He just wanted to make sure that he was heard. He was mad because basically McCauley had didn't have the balls to go over there and talk to him.
Right.
So, come on. You know what?
Right.
That's ridiculous.
Well, Captain Sean Couturier said, I've never seen that. Direct quote. Did he really deserve to get kicked out, honestly, after what he said? He didn't say much. And that's an end quote from Sean Couturier. But we've seen several other former players, like Chris Therien, voice their opinion, saying how ridiculous this is, this suspension is, and how how this league has gone soft. Now, in terms of the fine, this is nothing new. John Tortorella has been fined many, many times throughout his career. But yeah, absolutely. But Brian, I wanted to get into some points that you made earlier in the day in terms of Dan Hilfery getting his back, saying whatever league fine, league levies, I'm paying it. I'm picking it up.
Yeah, so we sit here and we've been saying for a bulk of the year and going into the season, this team needs not just an identity, but this team needs a bit of an overhaul, and it needs something to believe in. I think with everything that is going on right now, I think we're seeing that. This isn't just, this goes beyond just believing in something. This goes beyond just to have Comcast Spectacor finally have a face.
Yeah.
To have that face out and about with the fan base, with the team president, with the GM, with the head coach, all working together, to have him come out and say, listen, whatever happens with Torts, I have his back. Whatever suspension they give him, I'm okay with it. Whatever fine they give him, I'm going to pay, which wound up being $50,000, which, that's to me, that's a lot of money, but to him, it's not. So good for Dan Hilferty for having his coaches back. That goes to show you that all the upper brass are all in together. They're all one unit. They're all one team. And you're starting to see that it's more for the logo on the chest of these players than it is the guys on the back.
Right. That's important. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what they're recreating here in Philadelphia, and it looks like it's taken. Let's get to some more comments from the fan before we continue this discussion. Right now, we got 3-2. I got about 12 minutes left to go in the third period, just a little bit more. But, yeah, Anthony Saunders chiming back in again. NHL is tissue paper soft. Yeah, we're right on board. We're thinking eye to eye. John Malmo's going, the game isn't about the referees. And yeah, Brad, so often we see that in hockey and all sports where the officials try to make themselves bigger than the game itself.
Yeah, and it's really a problem, guys. It's gotten to be a problem in the NHL. Let them play, let them fight. It's enough already. Stop. Okay, only stop a fight if somebody's just getting getting annihilated. Okay, let them push and shove because that's hockey. Okay, the scrums after plays in front of the net, that's hockey. Get over it and stop trying to be Andre the Giant in there and acting like you can just take people and throw them away and say whatever you want to them. These hockey players are competitors. And the coaches, believe me, the coaches are competitors too. Some of them may not be quite as loud, but could you imagine if that was Patrick Roy?
Yeah.
Torts may have a temper, okay, but Torts is very smart and Torts is very contrived, okay? I believe he was going nuts to try to spark his team, okay? So, as far as I'm concerned, and I've seen Torts do that a million times, okay? He's trying to get the team sparked. They were not playing well, okay? Urson was having a tough night. He's trying to spark his team, okay? His team is in the playoffs, for God's sakes, right now. And nobody in the world thought that this was going to happen. And you know what? And he knows he's lost a couple of good players. And you know what? The Flyers had, unfortunately have to go with some questionable guys as their third and fourth defenseman right now. He's trying to fire this team up. So good for him.
Right,
for the referees to throw him out is just ridiculous because they caused the whole problem. Because if they would have just went over there and talked to him and you know what, and taken the abuse like men, like most referees do, okay, you wouldn't have had that. Like I'll give you an example of a pretty good ref, Kelly Sutherland. Okay. You don't see him getting into fights with the players all the time. The players respect him. Okay, Wes McCauley is one of these guys that just he's got a lot of Angel Garcia type characteristics. I'm sorry, Angel Hernandez characteristics, and it really drives me nuts because every game he does that crap. Just let him play. Just let him play, Wes. You know better than that. And let the coaches coach. And if the coach is going to drop some F-bombs, guess what? That's what they do. Okay? Right. If you're upset that the fans behind the bench are hearing the language, then go sit behind an NBA bench and hear what those guys have to say.
Hockey especially.
Yeah.
Foul-mouthed MFers, in that league.
Yeah,
and I didn't curse.
But sit behind an NBA bench and hear what those guys have to say and hear the stuff the players say. I mean, I don't know what he's trying to prove. It's ridiculous. It really it annoys me to no end because you know what? These referees, it's got to stop.
Hey, in case you're absolutely got to stop. Hey, in case you're just joining us, we're talking, the suspension levied against John Tortorella for refusing to leave the bench in Tampa Bay. We asked you, do you agree or disagree that the NHL was right to suspend John Tortorella, who is missing tonight's home game against the San Jose Sharks, as well as Thursday's home game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. He'll return for the Flyers' Saturday game, March 16th, against the Boston Bruins. Be sure to chime in and let us know what you think about that. But Mike Hayes goes, would you vote Evgeny Malkin for owner of the NHL? Brad Robert, I'm not familiar with that individual.
I have no idea who that is.
Melnick, I don't know who he is. I'm not. I hate to sound ignorant. I don't know who he is.
We'll get somebody to look that up. But Priz going, until they win something, the McDavid version of the Oilers are the Angels of the baseball world. Since I'm in baseball hockey comparison mode, apparently. Yeah. Hey, I'm right with you. Those are my two loves. Same. Over on Facebook, I see an awesome comment. Sam Caleri going, it was that BS penalty tripping that led to the fourth power play goal that set me off too. Yeah, and also too, don't ignore the 10-minute misconduct that was given to Garnet Hathaway. Wasn't that part of the ongoings before that fourth power play goal too? So there was a bunch of things that were leading up to Torts kettle, overflowing.
Yeah, man, it's just, you're down. It was either 3 or 4-0 at that point. You're halfway through the first. You're getting smoked in every aspect of the game. Refs aren't giving you any leeway. Something's got to give, and unfortunately, it was Torts' temper on the Ronnie Attard supposed tripping call. Like, I'm not. You guys know me well enough to know that I really am not the type to really judge an NHL referee. I'm not going to sit there complain about a call or anything, like, unless it's like super egregious. But they didn't need to make that call. I didn't think that was a trip. It looked like both guys just stumbled over each other. Like, it wasn't intentional. I forget who the player was for Tampa that was pulled him down, but it looks like their skate blades collided and they just he just went down. Like, that's not tripping. That's incidental contact. I have no idea why that was even called, but it is what it is. And Showboat Wes McCauley decided to keep doing what he does best and put on the show for everybody and made himself the center of attention.
Absolutely. Flyers still up 3-2, 9:38 left to go in the third.
Listen, if the Flyers stay out of the penalty box, guys, they won't have a problem. It seems like their penalty killing tonight is just a little bit off. So, if they stay out of the box, San Jose is probably one of the worst offensive teams in the league. Keep it 5-on-5 and you'll be fine.
Truth.
And if you get a power play, decline.
Right.
Decline. Oh, I got you.
So we're seeing how the team is responding so far in game 1 of 2 of the suspension here, albeit against a team that's, well out of it and in a rebuild mode themselves. It's going to be a whole nother story come Thursday against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I want to fire out to you, Brian. How do you feel this team responds in a much more challenging matchup without John Tortorella on the bench? Do they have the coaching assistants to be able to keep weight with the Maple Leafs?
I mean, as much as I want to say yes, I think Brad Shaw's doing a pretty good job behind the bench tonight. I see a little bit of fight. Still see that same effort from these guys. I mean, obviously we didn't see it the other night against Tampa Bay when they got smoked 7-0, but you're still seeing that effort. You're still seeing that. These guys have a ton of work ethic, and John Tortorella has done a really good job, kind of forcing that. Now, granted, he's not going to be on the bench. I'm sure he's still going to have his hand in making sure this team is doing what they're supposed to be doing and working the way that's supposed to be working, and you continue to get the results. I mean, we see it here tonight. First period, for the most part, all Flyers. The second period, basically all Flyers. I mean, San Jose still had their chances. Wound up with a I think it was a power play goal about midway through the second period. But I mean, this team is responding well. I know it's just, it's short term, which is good, but it's all in how this team responds, and they're responding well to a guy who has their back, showing not just the fan base, but showing the NHL that they have their coaches back, which to me is just absolutely massive.
Right. Absolutely. Got a bunch of the fam chiming in. As always, Mark Rubin going, "What up, boys?" Yeah, what up, Mark? Always glad to have you. Joseph Orikowski going, commenting on tonight's game, missed the interference call while Tampa Bay was on the power play. Going back to that game, absolutely. Priz Torts is my guy. I think he's building up a fan base here in Philadelphia and beyond. Audrey McHugh going, "I'll be there Thursday. Let's fight like hell." Prism going, "Torch for hockey commissioner when Bettman gets fired, quits, resigns." You gotta love that fan. You gotta love a fan here. HUD all the time.
I'm loving all these comments because I can't keep up on my end.
Right. I was going back to that what I was talking to you about in terms of one of our Matt Solar created a new hashtag, Justice for Torts. I actually kind of like that a little bit better than Free Torts, Justice for Torts. And he goes, "Disagree to the tonight's poll. Those refs were garbage."
Yes, they were. But yeah, listen. Let's do it. We're gonna start it now, Matt. This is all on you, bro. Justice for Torts. I mean, like I said, it's only 2 games. Seems kind of silly, but it was an unjustified suspension, in my opinion. But what I love to see is, first of all, I love seeing all the new guys chiming in here. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Let's keep it going here. We love it. Welcome to the family and all that other fun stuff. So, but yeah, as far as Torts goes, it's just, it's a shame because I forget who posted the comment, but it's a great comment. It might have been John Malmos about, essentially referees stealing the show. And Brad, you were saying it earlier. You got referees just in every sport now trying to put the spotlight on themselves so they can make their imprint in a game. It's getting to the point where it's just absolutely ridiculous. You see it in all 4 sports. Everybody had Wes McCauley specifically. I think his head just went when
YouTube
started posting.
That's the problem.
But when YouTube started putting out all those reels about him and his penalty calls, he sees that stuff, and he's like, "Oh, I'm getting pretty popular, so I can start."
Yeah, I'm going to start controlling the game.
Yes, but now he's starting to make a negative imprint on the game, in my opinion. That, to me, it's going to hurt the game in the long run.
Yep. I'll tell you what, guys, and not to get off topic, but there's a game on tonight between the Rangers and Carolina. Do you know how many penalties there have been in this game? 3 2-minute penalties. Yeah, 3 2-minute penalties, okay? And they were all completely legitimate penalties, okay? Both teams have been fighting, and there's been a little dirty stuff going on back and forth, but they're not calling anything. They're letting the players play. I implore the refs, let them play, okay? If it's not a scoring opportunity, leave it alone. Let them play. Yeah. Okay. But
continuing the baseball references,
guys, seriously, guys, if it's not a scoring opportunity, swallow the damn whistle.
Right.
I mean, come on. I mean, unless it's a stick foul, then okay, that's there. Or if a guy punches another guy in the face, okay. But I mean, it just gets so ridiculous.
I mean, even tonight, the referees are calling this Flyers game extremely tight. Garnet Hathaway got an elbowing penalty, which, I mean, yeah, I get it. You got to call it because the elbow did come up, but it wasn't like anything egregious. You probably could have gotten away with not calling that and been okay. But, it's just the last couple games for the Flyers. It's just been super ticky-tack play, calling everything.
Right. Well, sometimes certain players and certain coaches get a bullseye on their back. Let's not forget that.
Oh, yeah.
And then Mark bringing up another good one.
Oh, McDermott.
Oh, what about McDermott getting a 10-minute misconduct for yelling at Rempe? More weak officiating? Yeah.
Listen, you guys know I love Rempe, but you know what? He he did something very, very bad. That was really foolish. There was no reason for that. And you know how much I hate the Devils, okay? But there's no reason for him to do that. I know kind of what was going on, okay? He was taking a run at the guy, okay, and he was gonna miss it. He was gonna go flying into the boards and make a fool of himself because he was gonna miss the check. So he had to stick out his elbow to hit him, and he hit him in the head because he's so damn tall. I don't think that he really meant to do that to him, except for his pride getting in the way because he was gonna miss the check. And you know what? He's just got to tone it down. And you can't elbow somebody in the head. But you know what? That's a legitimate call, okay?
But you know what you
Some of the
can
stuff
hit?
that goes on should not be called.
But you know what you can hit? And you know what should be called on? Hitting that like, hitting that subscribe, turning on your notifications, never missing anything the A2D does. Like I said, you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, turn on your notifications. You catch us every week at 9 o'clock. And then you even catch the other great shows that we got going on here. So that's the one hitting that you should be doing. And it is okay in all 4 leagues.
Exactly.
I like that. I love that segue, Brian. You read my mind. I was going there.
Great
But,
minds think alike, Robbie. We've been doing this a long time together, brother. We better be in each other's head.
Yes, sir. Holding serve right now. Still 3-2. 5 minutes and change left to go in the third period. One thing I want to address, boys, in terms of this game. Now, we talked about, or actually, John in or Joe Horkowski in the comments was looking forward to the Toronto Maple Leafs game and maybe Flyers getting some revenge for the ass whooping that the Maple Leafs gave, just like Tampa Bay delivered that over the weekend. Well, there's some revenge tonight. Let's not look above that as well, where the Sharks, the Flyers were very hot and the Sharks were not. I believe they were on a 10-game losing streak when they went battle the Philadelphia Flyers and beat them to a score of 2-1. So, boys, are they able to hold on to this game? Will they be able to get the redemption and the series tie?
I'm going to go ahead and say yes to that. But on second, before I really jump into that, hey, yo, Mike, let me get one of them. Let me get one of them, bro. I got a nice little grill in the backyard. We can barbecue, bro. Get me one of them. Also, Audrey saying justice for Torts. So let's keep that hashtag rolling, guys. But yeah, as for them getting their redemption, I think so. I mean, to be fair, though, Flyers went into that game after this really makes this even funnier. After giving up 20 goals in 2 games. You have your GM go in there and just absolutely rip you a new one. Yeah. You come out with some kind of fire, which, great. At that point, you got to respond after something like that. Sharks responded. I don't think the Flyers played a bad game. I think Mackenzie Blackwood at the time, who tends to play the Flyers really well, just had the upper hand. They just couldn't find the finish. It happens. It's the NHL. You could be a bottom tier team, but the bottom tier team could just have the hotter goalie that night. Tonight, though, I think we're seeing a lot better play from the Flyers to get much more better looks on what's his name, Magnus Corona. I think the young goaltender's name is. This is the type of game you got to take advantage of. You got a young goaltender in there, just got his first NHL win. I think they said Saturday night against, I forget who it was against, but that doesn't matter. But this is a young goaltender. Never seen you guys before. You're almost at 100%. You got guys that are playing well. Frost having a great game. Farabee having a pretty solid game himself. The power play, just having constant pressure on him. This has just been a really strong game by the Flyers, despite the score. Sharks finding ways to stay in this game, but ultimately you got 3:15 left in the third period. You're up 3-2. You got to maintain that offensive zone pressure, and if you do that, you take that total time. You should walk away with the win. If they pull the goalie soon, just figure out a way to just put it in the net.
Score the empty net goal and put it away quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the key.
Over in a couple Facebook hockey groups here, as well as our A2D Real Talk group, which you can join right now. A lot of great discussions in there. We have Darryl Williams actually agreeing that the NHL was right to suspend John Tortorella for his actions against Tampa Bay. I believe that's the first agree we heard tonight, boys.
Interesting. Does he go into detail on why?
Does not.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's fine. Hey, this is what we do here. We are agree to disagree. You're either going to agree or disagree.
Yeah.
End of the day, we're going to talk about it, but we still we're going to go get a beer after.
I'm not going to throw words in his mouth, but just to play devil's advocate, if I am right that the NHL was, sending a message, basically making a precedent here, or making an example, I should say, out of Torts, that it's not okay to refuse to leave the bench when you're told to leave the bench. If you're trying to create a nice orderly league, that is that's drama free, right? Maybe that's why you're saying it was right to say, okay, well, coaches will be less reluctant to, I can't even buy into it, but there is some credo there in terms of you don't want those face-to-face manager baseball umpire type arguments in the NHL.
No, for sure. And you know what? I think that's valid. I think that's an absolute valid reason why anybody could come up with to agree to the poll. I mean, I know it could be a little bit of a homerish view to take disagree, but I mean, to me, if you agree, you're not wrong. You don't sit there and say, get out and you say, F no, I'm not leaving. Say, F no, I'm not leaving. And then just put your foot up on the bench and lean in. I could see why he agrees. Do I necessarily agree with him? No, but I could see it. I could see his point of view if that's in fact the way that he was thinking about it.
Right. Absolutely.
It's understandable, but the bottom line is the official needs to talk to the coach. Okay? There's no reason for the official to not talk to the coach. Okay? If the coach is asking him to come over and talk to him, okay, then go over and talk to him. If you don't like what Tortorella says, then throw him out. Okay? But don't just ignore him and make him feel like he's a piece of garbage and like the whole Flyer team's a piece of garbage. That was really bad. That was a bad thing that he did. And he kind of instigated Torts into going out of his rocker. So, that it is what it is there.
It is. SJM86. What up, man? It's good to see you in the house. What's up, dude?
Seriously.
What up, fam? Free Torts.
I saw the Rempe thing in there. Could you put that back up there? Because I didn't quite catch that.
That one? Yeah.
The wave by Rempe was a bad look. Oh, I love that. Because you know what? And I'll tell you why I love that. Because you know what? What's his name? That goon on the Devils. Okay, he has about as much talent on the ice as I do. McDermott. He has about as much talent as I do when it comes to hockey. He goes out there and looks for fights, and he was instigating the whole game. So, and he was trying to get Rempe to fight him the whole game. And this is what Rempe, by the way, has been dealing with the entire time he's been up. Everybody wants to challenge him to a fight instead of just let the guy play. So I just want to defend him for that, but I can't defend that hit. He deserves to sit. I can't believe he was only suspended 4 games.
Sure.
Okay. He almost took the guy's head off. I mean,
right.
That was bad.
About 75 seconds left to go. Had to do quick math there. In the game, San Jose has pulled the goaltender. Flyers holding on to a 3-2 lead.
You did better with that math than I did. You would have sat there and you seen the smoke coming out of my ears from my brain trying to do that.
SJM continues on. Flyers need to keep stacking points every game, whether it be by a W or OT. Absolutely, because they have teams that are chasing them that still have a few games in hand. You just need to hold on to that lead. Just hold on for one more day, just to get that experience. I mean, is it essential that they make the? I keep the winning mojo going, right? And you have Owen Tippett, scoring the go ahead, what would be the game winner here with 38 seconds left to go in the game. If it holds on, right? You see young guys not really being okay with losing when you have that first initial taste with winning. You know, we've seen that with many teams, both with the Flyers around the league, what have you, that when you develop that winning tradition, it becomes addictive and you want it more and more. And that's part of the culture. NHL has progressively become a softer and kinder brand. I don't mind the infusion of speed, but it will always be a gladiator game, and Torts backs his guys. Yeah, 1,000%. It is more of a game of speed and transition now, and that's why the Flyers have been able to compete, because they no longer dump and chase, which, you know, I'm old school. I always liked to dump and chase, but it's not that type of league anymore, right? But the players do need to police. You think so?
I'll tell you what. I just watched a 60-minute game of 60-minute 1-0 game where you have two teams that are great defensively that wouldn't let you come in, skate into the opponent's end of the ice, that you had to dump it to get the puck in and then go chase it. So, you know, when you've got really good defensive teams like the Rangers, Florida, the Hurricanes, sometimes that's the only the Bruins. Sometimes that's the only way you can play.
Yeah, teams will resort to that, especially come playoff time. No doubt about it. As the skates get a little slower, and I think you really need to be successful. A combination of both. You know, because you do need to take advantage of. Boys get 2 points. It's a final.
Very important. 2 points. Very important.
I told you they'd have Torts' back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good game for them to really kind of not have him and kind of see how they respond to it. I thought this was a good response game. I mean, obviously, I didn't get to see much of the third period, so I don't really know how the game finished out. But, you know, it was a hard, grinding, physical game so far in the first 2 periods. And in order to get, you know, this was another 1-goal close game. Part of me wants to think that the Flyers are playing down to them a little bit. And I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they were.
It's not hard to play ugly against the Sharks.
It's just the penalties in this game just annoyed me. That's all.
Right. They were given lots of opportunities. We'll run down the stats real quick. The Flyers outshot the San Jose Sharks 42-28, winning faceoff 67-33%. But the power play is what had the Sharks leading in this game at one point, and certainly in position to potentially be the victors. They were 40%, 2 for 5. 5 opportunities on the power play. Flyers did pot a power play goal themselves. They went 1 for 4. Overall hits, again, Flyers out hitting a team 28-23 and out blocking shots 13-10.
Good game.
Needed win. I mean, the Islanders lost last night, so it was key that the Flyers were able to get the extra 2 points on the Islanders, because the Islanders have just been red hot. I mean, I think they just won 6 in a row before that loss. So, they're the team that's breathing down their throats, and they're the team that's the immediate threat right now to the Flyers as far as making the playoffs is concerned. And, look, if you're the Flyers or you're a fan, you should want to make the playoffs. You don't want to miss the playoffs. You've gotten this far, okay? You're past the trade deadline now. You're in the middle of March. You want to make the playoffs, guys. You don't want to not make the playoffs. Not after all this. Right. These players have played their hearts out all season to try to make it. So, hopefully Sealer gets back soon, and because they really need him, and and things will be okay, and they'll find a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm with Robbie. It's not the end of the world if the team doesn't make the playoffs. You're building a culture in there that if they come just shy of it, that they're gonna rally around each other. They're gonna rally around the coach. They're gonna make the improvements that they need to for next season. They're gonna come back and they're probably gonna be a playoff team. I mean, especially if Kozlov has already signed his ELC, which I actually just found out. I'm gonna admit I didn't know he signed his ELC already, and he was loaned to the KHL. KHL season's done. There's talks of Kozlov coming over. But if he does come over this year, he's going to report to the AHL. Now, if this happens, that goalie situation may have just gotten a bit better for next year. Granted, that's all speculation at the moment, but there's a lot of things that could happen for next season that is going to, it's going to obviously happen over the offseason, but it's getting somebody like Kozlov in here right after the KHL season that he had.
Yeah.
Ooh, let's go. But
I like the sound of that.
Does he play goalie?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. If you don't think that good Russian goalies don't carry over to the NHL, look at Igor.
Yeah.
No, I think he will.
Igor's goals against average was like 0.98 in his last year in Russia before he came over to the Rangers. And look at him now. I mean, 2 straight shutouts now. But and by the way, he was spectacular tonight. I mean, really spectacular. It translates. So you gotta be very excited about that. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw him get in there maybe the last couple of games of the season if the Flyers have things wrapped up or if they're out of it. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought him up to give him a little taste.
Yeah. And he won't have to worry about burning a year of his contract because I believe he have to play 25 games for that to initially count as a contract season. And obviously we're below that at this point. But
right. I would think he'd want to. They want to let him play, just get used to the American game. The North American game, and just get used to that. And maybe if he plays well, maybe they give him a couple of games, before the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm fine. Just leave him in the AHL for now. Let him finish out the season down there. Let him adjust down there. Sandstrom hasn't played poorly. I don't think Urson's doing a great job, but I don't think there's a necessity for him to come up yet. Let him rock in the AHL. Let him get used to the game and develop a little bit down there. And then come training camp, let him compete for the starting job. By the way, I do agree with you, SJM, dude. Like, for real, I get it. It's house money. If they get to the playoffs, I'm not going to be like, oh, this team never should have got there. But I'm just saying, I wouldn't necessarily be upset if they missed it. It's all part of the rebuild. It's all learning. It's all how they're going to take the next step. Personally, I kind of hope they don't make the playoffs because I want to see how they are going to respond next season. And if they respond the way I think they do, and I think this is the team that they are, you're going to see a very different, hardworking team that's going to push 1,000 times harder than they did this year, especially if they miss it by that much. And they only have a 2-point lead on the Islanders. But if they fall out of that spot, they potentially fall out of the playoffs.
Right.
So,
no, you make a good point in terms of. Go ahead, Red.
I'm sorry. If the Red Wings keep losing, maybe it won't matter.
Maybe sneak in both teams make it in there. But hey, you both make good points, right? You go through all this. You've been in playoff position. You want to kind of get there. SJM makes a good point. Once you punch a ticket, anything can happen. Wouldn't it shock the world? We put out a poll in the Real Talk group, a few weeks ago. But I'm like right between you boys because I also don't think it would be devastating either because of where the team's at, and you even take it to the nth level in terms of creating that hunger. You had it in your hands, and then you want it back, right? Yet you want to continue that winning culture. I think, hey, I would love to watch some Flyers hockey in the playoffs, no doubt about it.
Oh, of course, but again, that jumps so. You bring in Guryanov at the trade deadline. You bring in Eric Johnson at the trade deadline. Those 2 additions are obviously they're going to be that low risk, potentially high reward bring-ins.
Buying and selling, as Brad talked about last week.
Yeah, in ways, absolutely. I think Guryanov is more of a buy than Eric Johnson is at this point.
Sure,
but
they needed a body.
They do. They absolutely because their defense is absolutely banged up, and you bring in a guy with the experience.
Some of their guys just aren't ready for the for a playoff push. I mean, they want to make the playoffs, guys. There's no, you can't say that they don't want to make. They want to make it if they can. I mean, why would listen again? If they don't make it, you're right. It's not the end of the world, but for them to get some playoff experience as a team, especially some of the younger guys, that would be really cool for them going into next year. And keep in mind, the division is going to be up for grabs next year because, I mean, look, the Rangers are still going to be the Rangers next year, because all their guys are under contract. But did you know that Carolina has 11 UFAs this summer?
Yep.
11.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
They're going to look very different next year.
Huh?
Yeah.
They're going to look very different next year.
There's no way they're signing all those guys.
Mm-mm.
I mean, you're talking Pesci, who's an outstanding defenseman, Teravainen. I mean, this is the NHL has a salary cap. There's no way they're going to be able to pay all these guys. So, if the Flyers are paying attention to who Carolina signs and who Carolina doesn't sign, there are some veteran players on that team that could really, really step in and be nice ads.
Yeah. I mean, hey, they could further that.
And they're not going to be as good. Bottom line, they're not going to be as good next year as they are this year. That's why they went all in with Kuznetsov and Getzel.
Right.
I mean, this really is their last year of being in the upper tier. This is their last Stanley Cup opportunity with this group. So unless they get a new group next year that's actually as good as this team, which I doubt, Flyers have a chance to come in second, maybe even win the division. Who knows? Next year. So, but I do think making the playoffs would definitely be a mental boost. Just give the team some confidence.
Right. And to Joe's point in his comment that I was trying to read off there, right? Basically, they could still get that hunger by getting in a tough first round series and falling short. And I like that. So you kind of accomplish both. You develop that hunger for next year while not being a letdown this year and being able to punch a ticket. It's key. And you bring in guys like Gurianov and Johnson, right, to help with, hopefully keep that transition game going, because you lost a lot of that with Sean Walker. You didn't lose it completely. There's been a lot of questions I've been hearing in the press conferences about is this transition game going in the garbage, yada yada, right? It is basically what the reports are trying to say, and they're ignoring the fact that you have Nick Seeler out right now. This defense is banged up. People love to trash Risto, but this coach is pretty high on Risto, as am I at times. He plays good defense. So I think there's a lot of pieces to build for here and a lot of pieces out there, to your point, Brad, that could be brought in as part of rebuilding, buy and sell.
I like to put it on the record. I'm not rooting for them to not make the playoffs. I'm just saying that I think there's curiosity there for me on how this team would respond if they just fall short.
I think they do the same thing either way.
That's all I'm saying.
It's about winning for them not. It's about winning the Stanley Cup. Okay,
love you, Joe.
That's what it's about, and you want to get that experience. Okay, you want to start. If they could start the innocent climb this year, then God bless them, because next year it's going to be better, and they're going to bring in some guys next year to help out too. So, and they have a real nice farm system right now too, so they're gonna have their choice. They have some money to spend next year, plus the cap is going up next year too, which is going to help. So, the future is looking good for them. But you definitely want to get some playoff experience, guys. You want to see how. And you know what better thing to happen if they play the Rangers, Carolina, or Florida or Boston in the first round. So what if they play them? You know what? If they can actually win a game or two, you know how confident they'll be next year?
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm trying to get at.
That would be that. I mean, and God forbid, there's no pressure on them. If they happen to win a series, holy crap!
I think they can too.
Wow,
I think they can.
What?
It'll be good for Arison's development too.
No
playoff
pressure,
hockey.
guys. No pressure, guys. All the pressure is on the top teams. The It's not on the bottom teams. That's
Never
why you
know.
see a lot. Sometimes
Could have Michael Lighton in a bottle.
Oh no!
Oh boy.
But you know what?
We went-
But you know what, Robbie? That's a good point because you know what? The Flyers went to the Stanley Cup final. I believe it was an 8 seed with Michael freaking Leighton in net.
Yeah. Right.
So that says a lot about what
Maybe Fedotov gets his foot wet in the AHL and comes in, and Arison has a little letdown. He comes off and he built. Credit to Danny B, just like SJM is giving credit to Danny B for building a stable of goaltending when there was some uncertainty in the position on who your franchise guy was. I've always been a little critical on Arison and pro Hart, and it's paid off handsomely. Boys, before we wrap up, we got about 5 minutes left to go in the show. Mike Hayes saying getting experience and Mitchkov coming over, please. Yeah. Let's see. I think he's in the celebrity league right now or whatever they have over there.
something like that. But yeah, he won't be here for about 2 to 3 years, so he's not coming over any sooner than that.
For sure. Earlier today, boys, Elliot Friedman put out a tweet saying that we have a new entrant revealing its desire for NHL expansion. Broadcaster Anson Carter, who scored 202 goals in 674 NHL games, unveiled a long letter from the Alpharetta Sports and Entertainment Group wishing to bring a team back to Atlanta. You can check out Elliot Friedman at Fried Fridge, HNIC. You know Elliot Friedman. Just chime him in your search there and see that tweet and into the details. Now, boys, right? The thought of hockey back in Atlanta makes some people a little repulsed, a little happy. Where do you boys stand? Do you think it will be Atlanta? Could it be Salt Lake City? Where do you see the NHL expanding if and when it does?
I'm hoping for Salt Lake City. Atlanta's had 2 chances. Atlanta's had 2 chances at this, and they failed. Twice. Badly. Well, maybe not badly the first time, but the second time was bad. The Thrashers were terrible. Terrible organization. They couldn't sell tickets. We're going to do this again?
The Flames were really good, though.
Oh. Well, that's kind of why I retracted my statement. I figured the Flames were pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah, they were really good. They just couldn't win a big playoff game. But I mean, they were always good.
I'm kind of with Mike on this one. I'd be okay with Houston. Houston's a pretty good sports town when the teams are winning. Obviously, I'm good with Salt Lake City. That's where I'm hoping it goes because I would love to see another NHL team in the mountains. But I would also like to see him go north of the border too.
A quick aside, Brian, in this comment, I noticed that Mike Hayes has Houston and Salt right next to each other. And I think Houston Texans are a little salty that they didn't get Saquon. No. Sorry,
yeah.
I had to go there.
I mean, I know a lot of teams that are a little salty they didn't get Saquon, but he's gonna
buyer beware.
Don't get me started.
He's gonna be repping
buyer beware. Well, Brad, I don't want to get you started. I want to get you back on this. Right, where do you see the NHL expanding to?
Honestly, Houston.
Yeah, Houston Arrows. Bring it on.
Atlanta has had 2 chances. Okay.
Right.
Where would I like to see them go? Quebec City or Kansas City. I think Kansas City got ripped off by the scouts leaving so quick. That was ridiculous. They didn't even give them a chance. They had horrible teams that never even came close to competing. And then they moved. So, but Quebec City, they got screwed. That was terrible what happened with them because they sold out all their games. And you had greedy owners that insisted on going to Denver, Colorado. So, okay, fine. But you know what? Gary Bettman, and this is why I can't stand Gary Bettman because he hates Canada. And there's no reason for that. Canada deserves those people in Quebec, they deserve their own team back. They Certainly. Really do. They had some great series against Montreal. Great. They had some great series against Toronto. It would be fun seeing them play in Ottawa. I mean, it's just they're missing the boat if they don't do that. So those are a couple of places that I would like to see.
Kansas City would be interesting. Certainly, Hartford, bringing back the Whale. There's a lot of possibilities.
Hartford will never do it. There's too many Ranger fans and too many Bruin fans there.
For sure. For sure.
The market's too difficult there.
Hey, boys, it's been a lot of fun. We got to wrap it up. It's been an hour already. But before we go, I want to tell the fam just joining us about our doc. Hey, make him yours. He's Dr. Paul Bidell at Specialized Physical Therapy with 2 locations in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Check him out online, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. For Brian Daly, Brad Ryer, Matt Sudi, who is at the well celebrating a Flyers victory. Screw you for not chiming into the comments. We'll catch you on the flip side next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Flyers Talk A to D.